course, from graduates and placement students who go in. And then we've also got a keynote speaker here in the form of Sally as well, who I'll introduce in a moment, who's going to talk about her journey into the world of tech as well. So very exciting. We've already said this to you, but very much congratulations for being selected for the programme. As Maria eloquently said earlier on today, it really will help you stand out and understand the kind of skills that you're getting. We were just speaking a few moments ago, product design, we've got criminologists, we've got English students. It really is inspiring to see the wide variety of courses that we have here. And definitely there are so many skills that you can pick out and apply to the very broad range of careers that you can go into digital. So you must feel proud already, and this is very much about you empowering yourself over the next 6 weeks to really make the most of the scheme, build those connections, and get to know people here in the Leeds community, because it is a community. I think everyone on the panel would agree with that. Everyone gets to know each other, everyone knows, it's small enough to have that kind of family feel almost, really, which is really good. So once you kind of build a reputation, and have those conversations, it really will go a long way. So this is very much about being part of the so-called fourth industrial revolution. So we are living in a time now where tech is incredibly prevalent. It affects every single thing that we do, from entertainment to medicine to tourism. And because of that, you are the generation of disruptors. You're challenging the way that things have been done, which is great. You're changing the way that things are being done, the status quo. We've now got people influencing on social media. We've now got people creating new technologies which are affecting the way people live their everyday lives. And very much, to become part of this, to go into this as a graduate, I think is a fantastic time. And why not become part of the movement? And as I say, the kind of skills that you get from a degree, coming to university, becoming independent, working in teams, learning about academic research and how to influence people, all those kinds of things will help you, whatever your degree subject in this industry. Because fundamentally, working in tech, it's all around trying to be part of a team, trying to understand different people and what they need, and translating all that sort of stuff into technological solutions. So it is very much around people, and it's around trying to change things. And if you've got a curious mind, this is going to help you get into that sector. And we've already talked about the fact that this is, by a country mile, the fastest growing job sector naturally in the UK here, probably across the world. So there's around 1.5 million people here in the UK in jobs, contributes 100 billion to the UK economy. And I've already mentioned to the guys that here in Leeds we've got nearly 40,000 jobs in digital, which contributes around 1.5 billion to the local economy. So it's really big business, and it's growing faster than any other sector by 10 times here in Leeds as well. So what a great time to join the world of tech as a new graduate. I have to say thank you so much, because all of this wouldn't have been possible without the support of the employer partners who we've worked with for many years here in Leeds, and some fantastic household names as well. Sky Bet, FDM, Sky, NHS Digital and Ten10. These are some of the market leaders in the areas that they work in. They're all very different from each other. They all have very different areas of customers and technologies, but fundamentally they're part of this community. They want people to stay in Leeds. They want people to work in Leeds and become part of their movement as well. So it's fantastic that they're helping to produce the curriculum, as it were, for the actual programme. So you're going to benefit all the way through DigitalLEAP from their time, their insight, their expertise. And as I said before, it's really exciting that we have the reward experience, which they've kindly allowed for our students, which will take the form of a visit to their respective offices. And you'll get to meet graduates who are already working there, experience what the life is like working in tech, the really cool office environments that they have, and do some hands-on activities. So hopefully that'll be the icing on the cake for you as well. So I've talked with the students around this already, but as we know, there's going to be 6 weeks. You need a laptop, of course, with you for the rest of the sessions, and we're going to very much cover everything from what it's like to work in the sector, delivered by Sky, to a hands-on coding session in JavaScript from Ten10. We're going to be talking about what it's like to go through a recruitment process with NHS Digital and Maria from our careers team. We're going to actually have a go at a mock assessment centre with Sky Bet, and then we're going to have a go at solving a problem through technology, also known as a hackathon, by FDM. So there's going to be lots of different things to experience along the way for Okay, so all of our panel are going to get involved one way or another in speaking to you in a few moments' time, and I've got a great pleasure in introducing them, but just very quickly, I will get them to introduce themselves one by one as we have the opportunity. So Sally works here at the university. So Sally, would you like to tell everyone what you do and how long you've been here?
So hello everyone, my name's Sally, I'm Head of Service Management, I work for the IT Services Department, and I've got responsibility for our first and second line support teams, customer relationship team, IT training, and a few other bits and bobs as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sally. Jen?
Hi, I'm Jen. I work at Sky over at Leeds Dock, and I manage our software engineering academy. So all things early careers, from work experience, placements, graduate programme, apprenticeship programmes.
Hi, I'm Tom Hudson. I'm a technical trainer at Sky Betting and Gaming, not to be confused with Sky. We're a separate company. I've been there about 8 years, and I both train graduate engineers and run workshops that are open to all staff as well.
I'm Jill Clarkson. I'm the Academy Business Partner at NHS Digital, and I've been there around 9 years now. So I look after all of our graduates. We have a lot of different streams, which I'll talk about, and I look after the whole.
Hi guys, I'm Alice. I work for Ten10. I am the pastoral officer, so the focus of my role is to guide you into your first graduate job, smooth the transition from university into your first role. I'm also here with my colleague Jenny, she's the head of graduate recruitment.
Hi guys, my name is Mel Chinar. I'm with FDM, I'm a graduate recruiter and university partnership consultant. So what I do is I support graduates through the recruitment process, through the video interview, the assessment centres, but I also go out to universities and do events and workshops, just to support you with the employability side of things as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. So you'll get to hear from all of our panel very shortly about their companies, and Sally will talk about her journey as well. So this is what we're going to be doing over the next sort of hour and a half. So Sally who's going to be talking about her inspirational journey from non-working in sort of unrelated areas to going into digital and tech, and really how she made that decision and how it's impacted her career, and how she's enjoying it now here at the university. And then we're going to hand over to all the employer partners who are supporting us, and they're going to have sort of 5 minutes each just to talk a bit about what area of digital their company operates in, and what they have to offer graduates like yourselves coming from sort of non-tech backgrounds who are keen on having a go and getting your foot in the door there. And then we're going to open it up. I know Maria's done some work with you around preparing for a short panel where you'll have the opportunity to speak to all of the guest employers here about anything that you'd like to ask. Until about 10 to 7, and then we can have a few refreshments and just finish off there. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next hour and a half. Very much good luck, enjoy the programme. I'm going to start speaking at you in a moment, but I really do hope, as Maria mentioned and myself in the previous session, do make the most of the programme, network, learn, ask questions and challenge things. After all, that's all part of it. So I'm going to hand over now to Sally, and she's going to talk to you about her journey and why she decided to come into the industry and how it's affected her life in a positive way. Thank you, Sally.
So my name's Sally, I work at Leeds City University. A little bit about me, I'm a shoe-loving, tea-drinking Yorkshire lass. I've got an absolute passion for technology and for working in the IT sector. I'm really passionate about customer service and higher education. I currently work at Leeds City University as Head of Service Management. Kind of reference there, I'm responsible for the first and second line support teams, customer relationship management, IT communications, and IT training. And I'm here to share my sort of personal career journey. It's probably not the kind of traditional career journey. What it means to be a Leeds Beckett alumni, because I am actually an alumni, I graduated in 2006. What it means to be a woman in tech, and hopefully to inspire you to consider a career in technology as well, because that's what this is all about, really. So I'm going to start right at the beginning. I had to be honest, quite a troubled and unsettled childhood. My parents divorced when I was 4. I was a middle child. I've got 2 older sisters and a younger brother. And by the kind of age of 15, I think I'd moved house over a dozen times. My mum was on a 4th husband, and life was not going particularly well. And unfortunately, I found myself living in a hostel. I was sort of homeless. Now at that point, I was trying to stay on the straight and narrow. I went into, I was quite academically gifted, and I went into 6th form. but I started to make some really bad life choices. I was living in this hostel, it didn't really align to kind of studying. And after a few months I found out I was pregnant. Now this was the early 90s, and at that point there wasn't really that much support for sort of teenage mums. And to be honest, girls like me didn't really go to university, and I thought that's the end of education. And I came out of education, I got kicked out of school. And so for the next few years I really focused on looking after my little girl. I'll be honest, I've had some really terrible jobs. Now, a little bit of having a terrible job is a rite of passage, I think, and it is kind of good for you. But I've had some pretty grim ones. I've worked in a carrot packing factory. I've worked on a pie and peas stall. My all-time favourite, I worked as a barmaid in a working men's club at a time when women couldn't actually come to... So I could work there and sell beer to men, but women weren't actually allowed to the bar to buy a drink, which makes me sound really old, and I say it was only 25 years ago. Anyway, by the age of 21, I was feeling kind of a bit washed up and a bit broken and a bit fed up with life, but I had this small person and she was my responsibility, so I kind of kept chugging along with the really awful jobs. Wasn't all doom and gloom though, it did kind of start to look up for me. I got married in 1997, and by the time I was 25 I had 2 more children, and I was a full-time stay-at-home mum. But I was quite bored with that. It was really boring and it was quite lonely. But my kind of limited qualifications at GCSE level and then a background in sort of retail and hospitality, I use the term loosely, those kind of roles didn't really fit with family life and looking after a family. And I was hearing about this thing called the internet, which makes me sound really old, but I didn't know anything about it. At this point I could hardly turn on a computer. When I was at school, if you wanted to do anything to do with computers, you had to be in the top maths set, and that definitely wasn't me. So, interested in finding out a bit more about sort of technology, so I enrolled on a part-time college course, and that just really sparked my passion for technology. It was a business course, but it was all about spreadsheets and Word documents, and a little bit about the internet as well. This kind of just led me to fall back in love with education, so I enrolled as an Access in Computing student. I redid my Maths GCSE and my English GCSE along the way, and kind of progressed from there really. And then in 2001 I got this life-changing opportunity, and I got to enrol as an undergraduate at Leeds Metropolitan University as it was then, and spent the next 4 years kind of juggling studying and family life. It was a challenge. Out of my cohort, which was 200 doing computing, I think there were less than a dozen female students, and there were certainly none that were kind of married and had children, so it was an interesting time, a bit like being a fish out of water. Group work was quite challenging. I couldn't pull an all-nighter. I had to go home and make the tea, so it was a bit of a struggle. And actually, I don't mind saying, I failed my second year and I had to resit, and I came really close several times to kind of quitting. But I kept going. I really wanted to graduate. I wanted the party and everything, and I did. In 2006, I graduated with a 2-1 in computing database systems. I was the first person in my family, kind of first generation, to go to university, and I never really tire of looking at this. It's still, even now, sort of 12 years later, still gives me that that kind of thrill. And I'd really got the bug for education. I knew I wanted to work in the higher education sector or the further education sector. So I started applying for jobs, which you'll all start doing soon. And it was a real challenge. I had this degree under my belt, but I didn't have any, or I didn't feel I had any experience, and that was quite often the feedback I was getting. 40 applications for just about any job in any of the universities in Yorkshire and Humberside. Several interviews, some okay, some pretty disastrous, I have to be honest, but you have to kind of pick yourself up. And finally, I got a job as a secretary, but the good news was it was as a secretary in the IT department, so it wasn't the job I wanted, but it was in the right place, and that was kind of the starting point for my career in tech. So, as I said, in October 2006, I joined University of Leeds as the secretary in the IT department. And I was really fortunate because I had this amazing, amazing boss who could kind of see how interested I was in everything and how much potential I had and how driven I was. And he just, I won't say let me do whatever I wanted, but he let me take on loads and loads of extra stuff way beyond the remit of my role. And that's what I did. And I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. It was frustrating at times. I worked in an all-male team. I was getting paid a third of their salaries and working at kind of double their level, working twice as hard. I mean, they were a lovely team, but you know, I knew I was worth as much, if not more, than they were, so it was a little bit frustrating. And then a new role came up in the department. There was a framework going round, a kind of new framework called ITIL, and it's about IT service management and how IT services are managed and delivered. And I was a bit unsure. I was currently working at a grade 5, so all jobs in universities are graded. And this was a grade 7, and everybody said you can't go from a grade 5 to a grade 7, but I didn't have anything to lose, so I applied, and I did loads of research beforehand, so I went in kind of knowing what this new framework was, which I think kind of gave me the edge on people. And I was successful. So in February 2008, I was promoted to grade 7 role of the IT incident manager. And this was fantastic because it really opened up what I had access to, and I got to see and really understand how IT services are kind of delivered and developed and managed on a day-to-day basis. I got to build up a much bigger network in working in this role, but I could see a gap. I had no line management experience, and I knew that that's what I needed to take myself to the kind of next level. So even though I was loving the job, I always had my eye on, I was always looking out for the next opportunity. And then in May 2010, the IT help desk manager she was going on maternity to have a baby, and they were looking for somebody to cover the post for 10 months. And again, I thought, well, why not? Now, this wasn't a promotion in terms of grade, so it wasn't a promotion in terms of salary, but I knew it would give me the line management experience and opportunities. And it was a tough interview because on paper I didn't look like I had the right kind of experience for managing a team, but actually I'd had all this life experience and I'd managed a family, and actually that gives you a certain skill set. So I'll talk a bit about that later, that your skill set is not just what you do in your job, it's everything that makes up you as the whole picture. So that's what I did, and within that the kind of role changed a little bit, and my secondment got extended by a year, and then it got extended by another year, and I ended up really being in post about 5.5 years. Which was brilliant. It was a job I absolutely loved. I every day went to work with a spring in my step, had an amazing team that I'd kind of built from the ground up, and I got to do all these exciting projects and actually create a really kind of sector leading service. We won awards, we were the service desk that all the other universities were kind of looking towards and kind of emulating, and it was just something I was really proud of. So there I was, really happy. Wasn't really thinking about progression because I just loved this job so much. And then in the summer of 2015, I was asked to come into Leeds Beckett and help with some internal interviews following a restructure. And in that restructure, some vacancies came up, and one of the managers said to me, would you be interested in applying? And I was like, oh no, I'm a University of Leeds person, I'm really happy there, I love my job. And I went home that night, and a little bit of self-reflection, I thought, I don't actually know if that's true anymore. I felt that way for so long, it's actually just become a habit, and that's how I feel. But really, with that internal reflection and looking in, I was getting bored, and I was a bit stuck, and there was no real progression. I couldn't see any progression on the horizon. And so, with a bit of dithering and a bit of persuasion, I applied for one of the roles at Leeds Beckett. And I joined as Head of End User Services in November 2015. And the really weird bit about all this is, I don't know if you know, but IT Services is based in the Grange at the Headingley campus. But that's where I'd spent 3 years as my undergraduate, that's where my school was, and that's where I'd done all my studies, it's where I'd handed all my assignments in. So kind of rocking up for work on my first day, it's like going full circle. And I'm immensely proud to be working at the university that's had such a kind of transformational impact on my life and given me the step up and the opportunity that I needed. So 3 years in post at Head of End User Services, it's been brilliant. I honestly, on the day that I left Leeds Uni, it was so embarrassing. My team were embarrassed, there was tears, it was horrible. And I remember leaving thinking, I'll never get this again, I'll never get to work with such an amazing team, and I'll never get this job satisfaction to this level. But you do. And I think that's one of the things I've learned along the way. Sometimes you've just got to be a bit brave and push yourself, and don't stay where it's comfy and don't stay where it's cosy. And then November last year, I was promoted to Head of Service Management, so it's a very similar role, except it's got a much broader remit. So instead of just focus on the teams that I manage, I'm now looking at making sure that all our services are delivered and kind of managed to the same standard. So that's a bit about my career journey. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the power of technology and kind of where the industry is going. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen this little girl, maybe on social media or on some TV programmes, but her name's Tilly. And Tilly lost her arms to meningitis when she was about a year old. Previously on the NHS, prosthetic limbs were either for children, they either got a plastic doll arm or a hook, because actually to get a robotic prosthetic arm was over £100,000. And there's this company called Open Bionics. So if you are interested, I would recommend that you go. There's loads of videos on the internet, and they're doing the most amazing work. They're actually designing and developing prosthetic arms for people, and they have brought the cost down from over 100k to about 5k because they use open source software and they use 3D printing. But more importantly, what they're actually doing, it's all focused on the design. So they are creating bionic arms for people who've maybe lost limbs through accidents or illness who are born that way, that really kind of make them feel like they've got a superpower. So for children, these are artificial limbs that they really want to wear. They're not ashamed of them, they're not embarrassed. They've got kind of sponsorship from Disney, so they can have a Frozen arm or a Marvel arm and all kinds of things like that, and they're doing the most amazing work. And that is actually the power of technology, is it just has the ability to transform lives. And very soon these limbs have just been through, they're the first robotic arms to be medically certified, and the plan is to make them available on the NHS. So no more kind of doll arms and hooks for children, but actually prosthetics that they want to wear that work. So really powerful, really exciting stuff. Now, most of us in tech, I'm sure you'll agree, it's not that exciting all of the time, but it is a really exciting industry to work in. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, they are all going to impact our lives, and it'd be really good if everybody got the opportunity to kind of contribute to that. But as those kind of technologies evolve and develop, the personal interactions that we might have, they're becoming more and more important. And so actually within the tech sector, it's about recruiting the right people with the right skills, with the emphasis on the kind of people skills as well, now more than ever. And actually we need those kind of high quality sort of, they're called soft skills, but they shouldn't be called soft skills because they're actually really hard. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about is about diversity in technology, and this is one of the things that I'm really passionate about. 2018 was dubbed the Year of the Woman. I've always been a massive advocate for women and women in technology. Women have been responsible for some of the greatest technological inventions in the world, but we are vastly underrepresented in this sector. Current statistics say that less than 20% of tech roles within software companies are held by women. There's only, of all the computer science graduates, only 18% of them are women, and only 16% of UK tech startups are founded by women. Now, we know how central software and technology is to everyday life now, so it's really important that every gender is kind of represented in the development of this technology, and there's already been some interesting examples of where bias has been built into AI and machine learning and things like that. So I can answer more questions about that later. But basically, not only have we kind of got a leaky pipeline with a lot of women dropping out of the technology sector, but we've also got a limited pipeline. And it's not just, let's be honest, it's not just about gender, it's about all diversity, and it's really important that we have a real mix of race, religion, age, gender, background. Higher education, IT, is predominantly middle class, it's predominantly male, white middle class, and the feeling I sometimes get when I'm entering that room is coming from a very working class background, but actually that is what's needed, is that diversity. Let's be honest as well, the sector is riddled with gender stereotypes. I'm just going to talk you through some of these photographs here. So the top one here is what happens if you Google IT manager. So I am an IT manager. I don't really see myself reflected in any of those images. I work with several women in the department who are what would class themselves as kind of nerds and geeks. They're really into the tech and kind of coders and developers. The second picture along is what happens when you Google computer nerd. And then the final picture, this was a photograph that I took. I was at a tech conference in Madrid. This was a technology conference attended by over 500 delegates. And as you can see, no queue for the ladies. And I think that tells you a lot about, if you ever go anywhere where there's 500 people and you go to the loo, I think that tells you a lot about the kind of diversity at that event. So it is a challenge, and part of why I'm here today is to speak to you all and hopefully inspire you to consider a career in tech, because we need you, basically. It's a fast-moving, dynamic sector. There's loads of small tech startups going on in the kind of Yorkshire and Humberside region. Leeds is developing a reputation for becoming the sort of tech sector, the tech hub of the north. And all this is at a time when there's a massive, massive digital skills shortage. I think it's 72% of large organisations and 41% of medium organisations cannot recruit for the digital skills that they need. So there's this massive gap. But I think it's getting over the kind of hurdle of people's perceptions. So I'm parents of 3 young adults, and if I even mentioned a career in technology, I go, oh, have you tried turning it off and on again? No, thank you, it's not for me. But actually, it's such an amazing sector to work in, and the range of jobs. And so even though I did a computing degree, I don't do a technology, I'm not involved in the day-to-day, I don't code, I'm not a developer. Because I found the area of tech that I'm really passionate about, which is around delivering services and working with people and kind of bridging that gap between the tech is building the tech and the people that are actually going to consume it. Jobs I could list, there's app development, there's forensics, there's information security, IT security, content management, content creation, data analysis, data warehousing, game development, project management, sales, consultancy, customer relationship management, business relationship management, networking engineering, infrastructure support, web design. Honestly, I could go on. The range of roles within the tech sector is absolutely fantastic. So it's just trying to get that message out there that it's not all kind of geeks in the basement. Have you tried turning it off and on again? There is a bit of that, I'll be honest, but there's much more to it than that. So thinking about what kind of skills you need for a career in tech, top one would be drive, motivation and enthusiasm. You need to be good at planning and you need to be good at organisation. Communication is becoming more and more important. I think traditionally, maybe 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen much reference to communication skills on a developer job spec, but it's becoming ever more important. You need to be able to collaborate and work in a team. Problem solving, that must be really important because I've put that one twice. Being able to tell a story and sell a story. Have good business knowledge. So I work in IT, but I work in higher education as well, and I make sure I kind of keep abreast of what's going on, not just in my university, but in the higher education sector, because that informs the decisions that you make and the services that you offer. If I could give any kind of graduate any skill, if I had like a magic wand, it would be the ability to be able to get up and kind of speak in front of a large room. I think that's if you ever get the opportunity, however scary it might be, I think that would be one I would really encourage you to kind of hone. Art of negotiation, really important. Conflict resolution, I've got a colleague here today, she's one of our conflict resolvers working in IT services. Creativity, as I said, problem solving, critical thinking, and that ability to reflect and look inwards as well. And actually, the majority of them would fit most careers, but particularly for tech. So life lessons I've learned along the way, so I didn't have a traditional career journey, but since I kind of started it 12 years ago, I've learned an awful lot. And one of the things that I have learned is that bad things might happen to you and things might not go the way that you want them to, but those things don't get to define who you are, and actually you're in control of that, and you get to define yourself and not the kind of things around you. This one took me a long time, the second one here took me a long time to work out. The thing that makes you different is actually your unique selling point, particularly in a sector that's full of pale male, stale, middle-aged men. For the first 2 years, I thought I'm a secretary, I'm going to act like a secretary, so I played up to kind of that a little bit. And then I got promoted, and I thought, right, I need to behave differently now. So I tried to emulate what was around me, which was a lot of men in suits, and actually the last thing our IT department needed at Leeds University was more men in suits, because they had plenty of them. And actually now know that my different perspective and my different point of view, whether that's gender or class or just different experience, is the thing that I can bring to the table, because I bring a different viewpoint. And when we're looking at services and developing technology, that's actually really, really important. You don't need to be good at everything, but you do need to find the thing that you really love, because if you find the thing that you really love, one, you'll be good at it, and two, you never feel like you do a day's work. And I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but that is honestly how I feel. Work is not a chore, it's not a challenge, even though some things are challenging. I really look forward to coming to work every day. Experience doesn't just have to come from a job, and that's the other thing. I think when you are starting out in your career and you've maybe not got much work experience and you've got no work experience, it's quite hard to kind of put things down on paper, but there's loads of things that you will have done in your life, and places that you will have been, and conversations that you've had, and people that you've been with, that bring you skills and experience, and it's being able to draw on them and actually reflect that in some of the processes in terms of applications and interviews and things like that. It never occurred to me when I was kind of starting out filling in these applications to reference the kind of skills I've got of being a mum and looking after a family and supporting my husband in his own business and kind of juggling 110 things at once. Never do anything that compromises your core values, and again that can be really difficult when you're first starting out and you feel you've got to kind of keep the boss happy. But trust me, if you do anything that kind of you are uncomfortable with, you will never kind of feel successful, and you'll never be happy with where your career going is. So, you know, stand up for what you believe in and stand up for what's right. And this one is really, really important, but attitude is absolutely everything. And can kind of trump experience and skills and qualifications, and that actually what people are looking for when they are looking to recruit is somebody that they want to work with, and somebody that they're interested in. And I've actually, that's been something that I've focused on an awful lot in my career, is making myself be the name that pops into people's heads when projects come up, when opportunities. And that starts with the very basic thing by keeping your commitments. If you're going to say you're going to do something, you do it. You turn up on time, you turn up with a smile on your face, and you work hard to kind of give off that enthusiasm. And sometimes that might mean faking it a little bit. So obviously it's better if you can find something you are actually enthusiastic about. But honestly, attitude is so important and can make such a big difference to your career. So top tips then for a career in technology, but it could be applied to any other kind of sector, I guess, is know your stuff, develop your knowledge. So read some more. It doesn't matter where you read, it can be forums, it can be newspapers, but if you are interested in tech or if you're interested in politics, is make sure that you know what's going on and that you are developing your knowledge and that you're keeping up to date with stuff. Create a strong online presence and think about your digital footprint. So one of the things I'd recommend is get your friends to Google your name and see what comes up, and then maybe check your settings on your Facebook, on your Twitter, etc., etc. I guarantee nearly all employers look, potential employers look people up online to make sure that when they are doing that, they see the things that you want them to see and not the things that you don't want them to see. And that means having a strong online presence, whether you want to use Twitter, whether you want your own web page, whether you want to have something on LinkedIn. But it is, if you're really considering a career in tech, it's really, really important. And I know Maria and the team do loads and loads of kind of workshops and things around how you can do that. Find an advocate and or a mentor, so they are slightly different, but an advocate is somebody that is going to speak for you, is going to actively find opportunities for you, and he's going to speak well about you in circles and things like that. And a mentor is just somebody that can offer you some guidance and support, maybe a bit of coaching along the way, and there'll be more people out there that are willing to do that than you would realise. People, you know, they want to work with young people, it's exciting, it's interesting. So think about ways, and some of these programmes, and certainly some of the stuff that Maria and the team do, can help in that. Join groups, societies, clubs to gain experience. I can't tell you how much stuff there is going off in Leeds. Free events, tech meetups, speaker sessions. There must be 3, 4, 5 things a month, usually free to attend, usually sponsored by an organisation that is looking to recruit, whether that's graduates or non-graduates. But they are invaluable opportunities to network, and they're usually quite safe, informal environments to kind of practice that skill, but networking is really, really important. Work hard, I think that goes without saying for just about anything. And don't be afraid to ask, and that's not just asking questions if you don't know something. Don't be afraid to ask for opportunities. What's the worst that can happen is somebody can say no, it's no big deal. But it took me a while to kind of get over that. But now if I want something, I just ask, and if I get it, brilliant, and if I don't, well, you know, you win some, lose some. So they're my top tips for a career in technology. I'm going to kind of stop talking now. I'm just going to finish with a slide. These are just some of the amazing things I've got to do, some of the amazing people I've got to work with, and some of the amazing places I've been. I've been all over the country with my job. I've been to Florida, I've been to Madrid. The picture there of me holding some bubbly with the lady with the red hair, that's when I got to meet my tech hero. That's a lady called Dr. Sue Black. I would really recommend you look her up. She's absolutely amazing. She's currently a lecturer at Durham University, but she does all kinds of stuff, and she's absolutely fantastic. But I just want to show you know, it's actually quite a lot of fun as well. It's not all kind of work and no play. And that's it from me. I will be taking questions, I think, in the panel session next. So thank you very much. I'm on Twitter. I love Twitter. I use it a lot. Great for networking. But you can also email me afterwards if you want another conversation about anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sally. Please do follow Sally, of course, on Twitter. What a fantastic tour de force. Thank you so much. Really does validate absolutely everything that I hope to come across in the project. But yeah, we talked about diversity and how important it is to get people from all backgrounds into the industry. We've talked about those key skills, how you can succeed with those, and it's all about attitude and soft skills as well as learning the hard skills in time. And really, no matter what kind of background you have, you can get there. That's you're in demand. There is a skills shortage, and there's so many opportunities. And just whizzing through the list, Sally, there of all those different things you can do, all the way from the very creative side, like games design, web development, user experience, all the way through to programming and warehousing and all that kind of stuff. It really is a massive spectrum of things that you can do. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to now hand over for the next part to all of the employers, starting with Jen from Sky, and they're going to talk about what their particular company does and what kind of things that they look for from graduates as well in terms of applying and the opportunities they have. So, over to you, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really amazing, wasn't it? I think it really goes to show that if you put your mind to something, you really can achieve anything. So, yeah, I found that really inspiring too. I'm sure you all did as well. But my name's Jen, Jen Standish. I'm the Software Engineering Academy Manager at Leeds, based over at Leeds Dock, where we've got 3 buildings, 3 offices and around 600 staff, and it's all kind of rolls around technology. So I'm sure you've all heard of Sky before, or know of Sky. You might have Sky at home, you might have some Sky apps on your phone. Sky was founded in 1989 and actually turned 30 just last week. So we were kind of celebrating that in the office with cupcakes and all of the nice things. But I think one of the amazing things is to see actually how much Sky has actually achieved over those 30 years. They have by no means stood still. They have continued to innovate and build new products and new services. I'm sure you recognise lots of the things on there, some of the more recent things, Sky Kids, Sky Mobile, Sky Q. And one of the key things is that what underpins all of those products and services is technology. So while Sky is a media and telecommunications organisation, actually technology is a huge part of what Sky do as a company, and they couldn't offer these products and services without technology. So that's what we do over at Leeds Dock. Richard's been over to our offices there. It's a little bit different. It's kind of like converted warehouses. There's lots of graffiti. We've got lots of pool tables. It's a really kind of cool, casual, laid-back place to work, with lots of like-minded people working on some of these really cool projects. So what we offer and what we look for in terms of our early careers roles, and this is kind of around my remit, we offer work experience. So you can apply to come and do a week's work experience with us throughout the summer. We also offer apprenticeships. So for those who don't go down the university route, they can come and join us from as early as 16 and come and do a level 4 apprenticeship. We offer placements as well. You don't have to be in your penultimate year. You can do placements in between first and second year, and that's usually throughout the summer months, so throughout August, and you'd work alongside our graduates. So it's a really good opportunity to get a feel for what the graduate programme is like. And quite often we do have our placement students that come work with us throughout the summer actually then fast track onto the graduate programme. And then obviously there is the graduate programme there as well. Really kind of relevant to you today is that you don't have to come from a technical background. We've had people come through that have studied law, English, geography, history. We do get people from the technical backgrounds, but we also get people that are from a complete variety of backgrounds but have that passion for technology, and as Sally's kind of mentioned, the right attitude, which again is something that's really, really important. We look for people that are up for a challenge as well. It's really enjoyable, but there are going to be tight deadlines, there are going to be quite fast-paced. There will be new technologies that you might not be familiar with, but there is always people that want to support you. I couldn't do my job without people wanting to support and come and do events like this. When we have our graduates start with us in the summer, they go through the training, and that's complemented by our senior staff across Sky, also supporting our junior people and giving them that additional kind of help that they might need. Teamwork's really important. Working in technology isn't about any of those stereotypes. It isn't sitting in a dark room coding away on your own all day and going home and coming back and just sitting by yourself and coding. The developers need to be communicating with the testers, with the business analysts, making sure they know what the requirements are, with the project managers. We work in an agile way at Sky, which I won't talk about today because we're going to talk about that a little bit when we do our session next week. But that means that our teams at Sky, our squads, have daily stand-ups every day, kind of 15 minutes. We'll stand up at 10 o'clock and go around kind of what they're working on, what they've been working on, what they might need support with. So communication really, really is so key. That's just a handful of some of the roles that you could be working in. Again, it isn't just development, that isn't the only role you can go into. You may be more suited to the business side of things, being a business analyst, a project manager, a designer, a tester, a scrum master, a which again you might not have heard about before, and I'll leave that until next week when we talk to you a little bit about agile and ways of working at Sky. But it just goes to show that it is such a broad area of technology. It doesn't necessarily have to be coding, it doesn't necessarily have to be the back-end stuff. There are a variety of different roles that will kind of suit various different skill sets. And what are the things that some of our teams in Leeds work on? So we've got the Sky Sports News Sky Sports News apps and websites. So some of those things are really kind of cool and exciting. It was quite a busy day. It was the week before last when we had transfer deadline day. Things like the royal wedding, there's a kind of a really big build up for that. There's kind of a real buzz in the office. And it's really cool to kind of work for a company that works on those sort of things to help design or help program or test an app that's used by millions of customers. Again, is something that particularly our graduates and apprentices really like, being able to kind of go home and show their friends and family, you know, I worked on that feature, or I helped, you know, solve that bug, or whatever it may be. Sky Kids app as well, which is a bit more recent. Some of the internal applications, so the things that our internal staff work on. Our sales journeys, so for either new or existing customers when they're looking at the Sky package that's right for them. We have the identity team, so ensuring that our users and our customers can log into those products and services securely, which is obviously kind of a massive job, but again a really exciting one. We've got the My Sky app team as well. So again, used by millions of customers. It's the app that our customers will use to manage their Sky account. When we partnered with Netflix, that's now on the My Sky app as well. So again, quite an exciting thing to be working on. Yeah, I think I've managed to rush through that. So do stay in touch with us via social media. I'll be here for the questions at the end. We're doing our session next Monday, I think it is, and I'm bringing 2 of our graduates along with me to that as well. So you'll be able to quiz them on their roles as well and what it's like working at Sky as a graduate.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So try to keep it nice and easy. So thank you very much, Jen. Kick us off, and now it's over to Tom at Sky Bet.
Hello everyone, I'm Tom Hudson. I'm a technical trainer at Sky Betting and Gaming. So who are we? We're one of the biggest betting and gaming companies in the UK. We were sold by Sky PLC or BSkyB or Sky UK or whatever they happened to be called at the time back in 2015 for about 850 million. We were recently bought by the Stars Group, who are a Canadian company, for $4.7 billion. So we kind of got up a fair bit in value in that 3 years. And we've grown a lot as well, so from 500 employees to 1,500. It was more like 200 when I started back in 2011. So one of the things for us is like our ways of working. We call the SVG way. It's printed on the lanyards and on the walls and on posters all over the office. So we're customer obsessed. We try and link everything we do back to the customer. We're all one team. So although obviously we're in separate teams, we don't try and let the fact that 2 people are in different teams limit how those people can interact and who can help who and that kind of thing. We try to be game changers. And again, like the actual the language we use on these things is maybe a little bit cliche and cheesy, but like we try to do things differently. We try to be market leaders rather than followers. We learn and adapt, so one of the things that we're really super keen on is people's development throughout their entire career. So we give all of our engineers 10% of their time for their own learning and development, a self-directed thing. It's not like your manager's going to say you have to go and learn this, it's what do you think you need for your career. And we have our graduate scheme as well, which I'll talk about in a sec. Taking ownership and getting things done. So we really don't like this idea of throwing things over the fence and now it's someone else's responsibility. We like people who take responsibility for the things they do and always try and find a way to succeed. I think it's relatively self-explanatory, isn't it? So one of our main opportunities we have for graduates is our Technology Academy graduate scheme. So we run a 3-year master's program in partnership with Sheffield Hallam Uni. And it's officially in digital and technology solutions, but really you can replace that for software engineering and testing and operations, that kind of thing. So it's an on-the-job training and development, and we're open to all degree disciplines. with the ultimate roles being in software engineering, software testing, and operations, all equally important and fulfilling roles, if you ask me. And one of the things I like about it is you're a full employee from day one. It's not kind of a, we might hire you in 3 years sort of thing. So one of the things that's relatively unique for us is that we have training that's developed and delivered by Sheffield Hallam Uni, but also our own in-house engineers and technical trainers such as myself. Although I think I'm actually the only person with that job title, so me. But one of the things that I really like is that we do everything from the ground up. So the first sort of couple of weeks is, right, what is programming? What is coding? What is software? How do computers work? And there's a real emphasis from me on how things work, because I think if you understand how things work, then you can draw your own conclusions about things, instead of just being saying, oh, I haven't been shown how to do this, therefore I don't know. If you know how the system works, you can figure it out for yourself. And also no exams, which is a question we get quite a lot. So as for what we look for, really it is about attitude. It's about how good you work in a team, how good you are at following your own initiative as well. Like, we can't teach that. I can teach you to code, absolutely. Like, even if you don't think you can ever do it, I can teach you, I promise. But if you can't work in a team, we can't do anything about that. We've tried, and it doesn't work. We want you to be pragmatic and intellectual, so like, it's no use knowing, oh, something should be done this way, therefore it must be. That's not always the case. You do have to be able to apply pragmatism, agile and flexible, so it's a fast-paced environment. Things change. Sometimes you start a project, and by the time you finish the project, the landscape has moved on, and you're going to have to pivot slightly and change what you've done. And also creative and curious. I think there's a stereotype for techie sort of people that they're not creative, and it's all just like maths and that kind of thing. But even if you talk to a mathematician, you'll find out actually there's a lot of room for creativity, especially when it comes to problem solving and that kind of thing. So that's the kind of people we look for. I think that was the last one. So thank you. Like go one in, like a paste dispenser, one in one end.
To rearrange this for next time. For problems to be solved. Yeah. Okay, great. So yeah, we have Jill now from NHS Digital.
Thank you. So my name's Jill Clarkson and I manage the academy at NHS Digital. That's not what I'm trained in. So I joined the company about 9 years ago to do admin support for projects, and then I worked up and started managing projects myself. As Sally was saying, it's good to find your unique selling point. I'm organised and I'm bossy, so that lends itself really well to project management. So think about what skills you've got there. So who are we? Has anyone heard of us? It's normally a good thing if people haven't heard of us, because it means we're not in the news. So if we're in the news, it's statistics. So if you ever see anything in the news about medical statistics, obesity levels, anything like that, that's us. So there's a lot going on, but you just might not know about it. We used to have a really bad name. We were the Health and Social Care Information Centre. It's not very catchy, is it? We renamed to NHS Digital 2 years ago, and that's really, really helped us get across what we actually do, so it makes my job a lot easier. So there's a lot of different elements to what we do, and I'll just go around these, and it gets more interesting as I go around. So we have a massive part of data. We own all the data for the NHS. It's the biggest data set in the world. So if that's your bag, if you like maths, data, analysis, anything like that, then that might be something you find interesting. We're sort of branching out into the world of data science, which is now a new sort of buzzword for people who work in data, and we're really trying to push that a bit more, and that's where we really need graduates as well, because it's the new thinkers that we need. Networks, so this is all of the stuff you don't see. So it's all of the networks for the NHS, a lot of the platforms, a lot of the sort of high-level coding is done in that area. Starting to get a bit more interesting, cybersecurity. So obviously NHS data, very important. You'll see a lot of sort of people talking about data and protecting data. So that's become massive for us. We've now got a big cybersecurity centre in Leeds, and that's really interesting. Systems, so these are all the big systems that GPs use, hospitals use, midwives use. I've been lucky enough to work on some of these big systems like the electronic prescription service, and these are where a lot of our graduates work. Live services is a big one where we're trying to get people into, so that's sort of Sally's area as well, service management. And these are a lot of our big systems, and these are where we have sort of big impacts. This is where it gets a bit more fun, products. So this is our website, app development, user research, design. This is where we have a lot of our graduates because this is where we need a lot of fresh ideas. Our website still isn't great. We're a digital company and we've got a pretty rubbish website. So there's things like this that we're really trying to turn around. And that's where a lot of our interest in work is. So you might have heard of some of these, or seen them, not realised where it's come from. So these have all come from NHS Digital. So if you Google any symptoms and the NHS website comes up, anyone done that before? That's us, we own that at NHS Digital, it's NHS UK. And that's always going through new iterations of design, new information. That information's got to be up to date. We have a lot of people at the moment working on content design, so really making that information readable and accessible. I've been lucky enough to work on some systems that go into hospital to help people access patient records, and I think that was one of the most rewarding things I've done, working with sort of 111 call centres, and then being able to access information more easily and being able to help patients. So things like that are really, really rewarding. Where are we? So we are in Leeds, Bridgewater Place, Ball Lane, Whitehall Road. We've also got offices in London and Exeter, if anyone is from there and interested in going back. As you can see from that bottom picture, we're sort of trying to work more agile, trying to make the offices a bit more exciting, moving away from that sort of NHS office culture. So what do we offer? So we are looking for graduates in these areas. So we've got some classic technical areas, so software development, and data science are a bit more technical, but we've also got other areas as well, so product delivery, that's sort of the new name for project management in technology. So it's about owning a product, developing it, and delivering that to users. User-centred design, user research. We've got a massive user research centre now, which is great. We do lots of labs with patients, working out what they want, and that's really fun. Service management, maintaining all of these big systems. There's a lot going on, a lot happening. We've got to keep things secure, we've got to keep things safe, so that's really, really important. I put a star next to the ones that we're recruiting for. Luckily this morning, so it's only which of the slides, I've got to go ahead to recruit for more product delivery graduates, so that's really, really great news. And when we do our session in a few weeks, I can talk a bit more about that as well. We also do year in industry, just in data science and software at the moment. We're developing programs all the time. We're recruiting different things all the time. I get go-ahead for different things at different times, which is great. We're always recruiting, so that's really good news. So we're not looking for experience in specific roles, especially in service management, user-centred design of product. We're looking for potential and just good team working skills. That's what we like to see. We do our assessment centres and there's a lot of group tasks in there, and that's what we really look for, is people who can work together. We can teach you anything, as you were saying, but it's those skills that we really need from people. And that's great to see. Everyone that we see at our assessment centres, really tries to work as a team, and that's fantastic. Software development, if anyone is interested in that, we're looking for experience and passion for that field. We'd like people to have a bit of awareness, maybe a short course in coding, you're going to do a bit over the next few weeks, something like that, just to be aware of what's involved and what you like. But we don't look for a degree in that specific field. For data science, so this is our sort of mathematics and analysis. Officially, we look for STEM degrees. I shouldn't say this, but I'm the one who sifts the application and I let any degree through. So, so if you don't want any more information, we're going to have a session in a few weeks' time, so I can answer questions today or then. We do have jobs live now, so if anyone was interested in applying as you go through this time, you can just have a look on our website. And finally, we've got a video. I don't know if it's going to work, but this was designed. Our graduates helped us design this video. just promote the academy. It's only 30 seconds. I'm hoping it'll work. So let's see. I'm a bit loud. It worked. Thank you.
Right, excellent. Okay, so it's over to Alice next for 1010.
I'm taking
Oh, and Jenny, okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Jenny.
Teamwork, innit?
Yeah.
Hi, so I'm Jenny, I'm from Ten10, I'm the head of graduate talent. We're based in Leeds, London and Brighton. We've got a huge on-site presence with our clients across the UK as well. And we are the UK's leading independent software testing company, but I bet no one in this room has heard of us. So, just a couple of statistics. Here's some of our clients. We work with clients from a really diverse set of industries. So retailers, the government, healthcare providers, professional services, so on and so forth. I mean, you can see from our client list, a couple of our clients are sat here. We win awards, we go all over the country, we're expanding internationally soon. Our net profit has doubled in the last 12 months alone. And I started in August 2017 and our employee list has doubled as well. We're in a period of really accelerated growth. It's a really exciting time to get involved. So, why is software testing important? If you think about it on a bit of a day-to-day general level, if you're internet shopping and the website's going really slowly or there's broken links, I don't know about you, but I will just click off it. I have absolutely zero loyalty to an online retailer, really. I mean, Black Friday is just a joke. You shouldn't see any issues in the news with our clients on Black Friday, because if you did, we wouldn't be doing our job right. I mean, is anyone on O2? Anyone on O2, gift gap, EE, just have their phone just collapse? Yeah, so I mean, if the software had been tested properly, that would not have happened. We are literally looking at government bodies, banks that are relying solely on software to keep all of our data safe. All it takes is one software bug that's not tested properly to go horribly wrong and all of our secrets are spilled out. I don't know if anyone heard about the plane that crashed over China a couple of years ago, but it was announced just before Christmas that the reason that the plane went down was because there was a software bug that hadn't been tested properly. So I don't mean to be dramatic, but what we did is literally life or death. So, our graduate scheme is a 2-year programme. This is comprised of 6 weeks of really intensive classroom-based training, and the rest is learning and developing on the job. We accept candidates from any degree discipline. To echo what some of the guys sat down here have said, we really look for motivation, passion, just a genuine interest. If you have that, we can teach the rest. So you come into our 6 weeks training and you'll be taught 10 different modules. Each of those is delivered by a senior 1010 consultant. So you're learning from people who actually do the job day in, day out. They have a hands-on, up-to-date knowledge to share. All of our teaching is face-to-face. We have a designated classroom. So you would learn about the types of testing that we offer our clients, which is predominantly automated, manual, and performance-based testing. You would learn about enterprise IT, Java, and we've recently added on optional courses at the end to focus specifically in developing or business analysis as well. So you can really sort of hone in on what you're interested in. Following successful completion of this training, we match you with a client project. We are a consultancy, so we work with our clients face-to-face on site, and we match people with their clients based on them. Every graduate that comes into 1010 is a person They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have emotions, they're not just a number. So we really get to know you and think, so what kind of environment would they thrive in? What kind of company culture would they enjoy? What do they want from the next 2 years? How do they want to build their skill set? If there's someone that comes in, they're just really chill, they love wearing trainers, it even comes down to as simple as that. I'm not going to want to place them on site at the home office where they're expected to wear a suit every day and it's a really strict 9 to 5. It's more likely that we're going to look at William Hill, where there's flexi time and you can sort of dress how you want and you can kind of slip in the odd swear word without getting a slap on the wrist. We want you to be happy in the next 2 years. It's important. You spend 2/3 of your life at work. You need to be happy there. We've actually just introduced what we call the Happy Course as well, which is just a day course that I run that is how to be happy at work. What is okay? It's okay to just say, I don't like it today. I want to go home. I don't really like this client anymore. What do I do? That's okay. It's okay to not enjoy things. It is a really, really pivotal point. You're coming out of uni and joining a brand new company in a brand new industry, learning brand new things, and then being shipped to a brand new company with a brand new team. It's crazy. So it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to want to learn more. So you move on to your client site, hopefully where you're very, very happy. And there is continued development throughout the next 2 years. We put you through industry-leading qualifications. There is continued training and development. You're embedded within a 1010 team. We don't just leave you to fend for yourself. So the client projects are really interesting. They're very dynamic. They're very, very fast-paced. There is no 2 days that are the same. But for us, that's what makes it great. And I just wanted to touch as well on a couple of the courses, because I added this slide in last minute, because we've got a graduate scheme running at the moment. And one of the grads who's just graduated in events management came up to me, and they're in their 3rd week. And she was really panicking before she started. She was like, you know what, I don't know if this is for me, I don't think I can do it. I know that you said that I do have this aptitude for tech, but I don't know, I'm just flapping. And then she came up to me on Friday and was just like, oh my God, I just got 98% in the foundations of testing. I'm a fucking genius. And I was just like, yeah. So literally coming from a non-STEM background with no prior experience, in 6 short weeks, you will master a base knowledge in all of these things. It's crazy. And finally, I just wanted to touch on as well that it is a pivotal point. You need to be happy at work. This is something that we really, really focus on at 1010. We've implemented a pastoral care team, which is headed up by Alice and I. So I just wanted to sort of point out a couple of things. That we are fun. It is not just all work. We have huge, huge social scene. We have graduation. If you chose to join 1010, you could expect fortnightly drop-in sessions where you just sort of come to us, raise issues, have conversations, announce that you've just got engaged, announce that you're moving house. Like, we all want to hear it. We will share everything. We help you with relocation if that's something that you want to do. That's a big thing as well. We have the Happy Course, otherwise known as the Positive Psychology course. We provide housing throughout training, which is essentially glorified student housing. We've got 5 houses side by side. Yet to be invited to a party, but whatever. We have themed drop-in sessions. There's a lot of topics that are prevalent at the moment. People will come to us and say, oh, we want to learn more about LGBTQ in the workplace. What do you do? What do you offer? We've had people that say, you know, I'm a bit stressed at the moment. How do I deal with that? People saying I've put on the 10-10 stone, which is a thing. You put on a stone if you join 10-10 in the first 6 months. How do I fit in fitness around a 9 to 5? So we listen to everyone. We get to know everyone really well. We've had over 250 people through our graduate programme. We currently have about 150 in the business right now. You could come to Alice and I, name any of them, and we could give you 5 facts about them. So just to sort of make my point, if you join a tech company, it's modern. I think I speak for all of us when I say, you know, we are very focused on people. It's not just numbers, it's not just coding. We genuinely care. This is the modern digital
age, and tech companies are the first and foremost sort of keeping up with that and listening to people. So if anyone is maybe a little bit daunted or a little bit worried, I think that if you want to be a person and not just a number, then a role in tech is probably the best place for you. That's it.
Fantastic. And then Alec from FDM, for the final result.
Hi guys, my name is Coach Nah. I'm a graduate recruiter and university partnership consultant for FDM. So I've been with the company for about 8 months now. I've been in this university partnership consulting role for just coming up to 2 months as well. So I've been in recruitment for 4 years. I haven't got the grey hairs yet, as you would think. Being sales and recruitment is a stressful job. But now I'm in FDM, I'm a lot happier where I was before. So just a bit more about what we do. So firstly, who we are. So FDM, we're a market leader in IT services and business services, and we provide services to various clients in the UK and globally as well. We've got 10+ centres around the world, and our academies are in the UK, USA, Canada, Germany, Hong Kong, Singapore, and we've just recently opened one in Australia as well. So opportunities all over the place. So what do? So we recruit graduates from a range of degree disciplines and backgrounds, and we provide training in various different technical and business roles. We also recruit in ex-forces and getting back to business, so people who may have been in the industry before in various different roles, and we provide them if they're taking a year out or maternity leave, sicknesses or anything like that. We support them to get back into the industry afterwards. So we basically train graduates in various technical and business roles, as we mentioned, and then you'll be placed on site with various different clients in the UK. Or if not, if you're open to opportunities worldwide, we do work with clients globally as well. So, can you guess the number of graduates we FDM hired in 2018? Anyone? It's been a bit quiet so far.
300.
300.
250.
Higher. Go on. Biggest one? 500. No. Right, I'll tell you. So last year we recruited 1,098 graduates in the UK alone, which is a very high number, guessing from what you guys have said already. I'm just going to give you an idea of where some of these graduates are working now as well, so just to name a few. Yes, this goes on quite a bit. So there we go. And there's many more. So just kind of name a few of people, what people are doing in various different places across the country. And you can see on the map that we work with clients all over the place as well. There's opportunities not from looking to stay in Leeds particularly, maybe from down south, then there are opportunities down south as well. So the selection process. So first, you complete online application form online. And after that, if you're from Leeds University, which most of you are, you'll be speaking to myself about the going through the telephone call, which is a bit of an informal chat, where I find out a bit more about yourself and what you're looking for in regards to a kind of career as well, just so I can obviously guide you down the right lines and give you my opinion and kind of information I see from within the industry as well. After that, it's a pre-recorded video interview, which I know a lot of people don't like, because you're just trying to see yourself a lot of the times, and you're just staring at yourself. And I've seen a few people posing whilst in the video interview, which is a bit embarrassing. So there is an option where you can turn off the camera so you don't see yourself, so it's just recording without you seeing yourself. So a little tip for you guys. If you're successful at the pre-recorded video interview stage, you then go through to the final stage of our recruitment process, which is an assessment centre. And I'm not sure what a lot of graduate programs are like nowadays, but as you can imagine, if we recruited 1,098 graduates last year, the limit's never ending. So if you go into an assessment centre with, let's say, 25 of the soon-to-be graduates, all those 25 can have an opportunity to start the programme as well. So there's no limit on how many graduates we recruit each year. It all depends on client demand as well. And the more we get, the more we want to send out to our clients each year. So just as it says at the bottom, my role, and what I love about my role as well, is that I do support each and every graduate through the recruitment process. So if there's anything that I feel like you need to improve on, I will give you the feedback. I will spend maybe half an hour doing some kind of mock interviews with you on the phone. I feel like that's an important part of the recruitment process as well, is just kind of giving that candidate the best journey possible. And even if you don't get a job with us at the end of the day, at least I've learned something throughout the whole process as well. So, as I mentioned, we recruit in and train both business and technical streams. So, here's to name them all. So, ones at the top are the business streams. So, you've got business analyst, project support officer, and risk regulation compliance. And then on the bottom, you've got technical ones as well, like business intelligence, developer, IT service management, software test analyst, and software development. So, as a lot of these companies have mentioned today, we recruit from all degree backgrounds and disciplines. All you need is to have that kind of passion, interest in IT, and then we'll do the rest of the training. But like everyone else has said, you need to have the attitude as well, because at the end of the day, if you don't have that attitude, then you may struggle on site and the learning as well. Just one more thing before I go on to this one actually. We do offer a new course as of 2019 as well, so due to client demands in cybersecurity and information security, as of 2019 we're starting to bring out information security management, which is for more the business side of people, and then we do information security operations, which is more technical, like ethical hacking, Oracle, stuff like that. It's quite interesting. I've seen some people do it recently, and I was blown away. I don't know how people do all this hacking malarkey, but it's not my forte. So what we're looking for, so this has been touched on by most employees today. It's all about, at the end of the day, we understand that a lot of people coming out of university may not have had a year in placement or kind of experience in workplaces to kind of talk about. So it's all about talking about your experiences, whether it's university, maybe you worked on a few projects, any societies and hobbies you do as well. We want to hear about them. Those are your strengths and skills. What you do in those kind of hobbies or at university or even in the workplace, if you do have work experience, is all valuable. And the more you talk about that, the more in depth and kind of in detail you go into kind of those kind of specific experiences, then the more we learn about you as well and see where your strengths and skills lie. So there's just a few to kind of make note of what we are looking for. And we do kind of test on these throughout the recruitment process as well and see which ones obviously suit you as well. So, finally, just if you are interested, we do have a big social media following as well. We do tend to post a lot, especially if you're going to like careers fairs. You'll see some funny posts of some of the FDM graduate recruiters and then university partnership consultants doing some weird and wonderful things at careers fairs as well. So have a look. Follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. I've got my own FDM account. So yeah, have a look, and if you've got any more questions, then feel free to ask. So thank you very much for your time.
So that brings us to the end of the sort of quick fire round, as it were, of all the employers. Some fantastic presentations there. It's really clear what kind of things they've got to offer and what kind of opportunities they've got to offer. So what I'd like to do now, for the sort of last 10-15 minutes before we break down to some networking and another coffee before you go, is really open up the floor to you guys. I know you've been studiously sat there listening to a lot of information, but I really want to empower you now to ask the panel any kind of questions that you're thinking of, things that have happened in this session and things that we spoke about with Maria as well. So who's got a question for me to kick things off?
I've got tons, but I guess I'll leave those to network later. I've got maybe a question for the entire panel, which was, what were the most exciting projects you worked on and what made them the most exciting projects for you? So to everybody.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out. Do you want to start? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Sally?
Okay, so I think I alluded to it in there. I was responsible for a project putting a new system into NHS 111 call centres, and I got an email of feedback, which I've kept. Some horrible spelling mistakes in it, but it was quotes from all of the staff in the contact centre how their call times to patients had been reduced by at least a minute, just from this system. Obviously, it wasn't all me, but managing that, that means a lot to sort of see that. We all know about the NHS and the struggles, so anything we do to save money and time is fantastic.
So I don't know whether it's quite a project, but I think one of the best things that I've enjoyed since I've been at Sky for the past year is we had a target, and Sally talks around diversity, and we had a target to ensure that our graduate intake was 50-50 in terms of the gender split. and we achieved that, and that was through doing kind of outreach activities, bringing young women into the workplace to see our offices and showcasing those opportunities. So yeah, that was a really kind of good feeling when we achieved that target.
So from a technical standpoint, something that's probably fairly dry to a lot of people. I worked on some pretty cool tech for monitoring video streams, which was for me personally very interesting from a technical standpoint. But I think the most exciting thing is actually just working on the graduate scheme and training things, because I get this intake of people who, many of which have never coded before, and I get to see them make that journey. You see the light bulbs go on in their head where they finally get stuff and really enjoy making things with code. I really have loved that.
Working at the University of Leeds, we were the first university in the UK and only the second internationally to get basically like a standard called service desk certification. So we got 2-star in 2013. But that kind of set the gold standard within universities, and I think there's over 40 organisations now that have gone down that route. So just really transforming the way we provided support to staff and students in terms of IT support, so introducing really innovative services. We were one of the first universities to introduce laptops that you could get out of the lockers, and a repair service and all those kind of things. So I'm really proud of that and the impact it had on the wider university.
So one of my favourite projects while I've been at Ten10 is to do with our assessment days that we run. We actually implemented something that we call the culture test in another assessment day, where when you're in between your tests and you're in between your interviews, you might actually kind of sat in a room waiting by yourself for the next stage of the process. I actually spend that entire time in the room with everyone who's not in a test or an interview, playing some group games, playing some Lego activities, which the feedback we've had is that it makes people feel really valued. We get an insight into what you're like as a person, not just how you perform on the tests, and we really do value that equally to the test scores. I think it's been really valuable.
That's really incredible.
So I don't personally work on many projects. I do a lot of these workshops for universities, and obviously DigitalLEAP's an excellent one to kind of kickstart what I'm doing now. But I'm just going to tell you what the kind of best thing about my job is, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, like I said already, is that candidate journey. So I've seen quite a few of my candidates come through the recruitment process and starting the academy in Leeds as well. And the best thing is when that first week, at the end of the week, when they've kind of just I've learned so much, and you can have that conversation with them. And I always like to take them out for a pint as well, just because you get to know them on a more kind of personal level. And I feel like during the recruitment process, they're trying to be as professional as possible, and your job being that kind of professional recruiter as well. But having that kind of relationship with them helps them kind of settle into the programme, because training is between 7 to 14 weeks for various different streams, and you're going to see them day to day. So being able to kind of, for them to come up to you and say, hi, how are you doing? It makes them feel a lot more comfortable as well. So I like to, that's the best part of my job, I believe.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Somewhere over here had a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, so obviously we've all come from different backgrounds, study different things, and this applies generally to everyone. Is there experience that you value more or less? Because like I study law, so I've got legal experience, but that's obviously not applicable to digital. So I was just wondering if there's anything particular that you look for.
Attitude, I think it's attitude. It always comes back to kind of attitude and turning up with a sense of enthusiasm and a passion and a drive to do it, rather than a particular skill. Because I think that what we're showing here today is the range of roles and the kind of diversity that we need. So we don't just need one particular kind of skill set. We need a whole range, but having the right attitude is just absolutely essential.
Talk about your passions as well throughout the recruitment process, because at the end of the day we want to match the right job to you, and if you open up and talk about what you like and what you don't like, then at the end of the day we'll be able to find you the right role for you as well. So kind of law, a lot of kind of law students we get through go down the line of risk, regulation and compliance, because there's a lot of kind of transferable skills that you learn from that as well. And they just open up to the recruiter just so they can pass it on, even like the interviews as well, just so they can see where your passion lies and what you like and don't like.
To kind of echo what Sally said, it's not so much about having a specific background as having lots of people with different backgrounds. So for the example of law, one of the things that's pretty common in tech is really detailed specifications. And if you're really good at like reading through the very jargon-filled documents that you get in law, that's definitely transferable. But I think it's the diversity of thought. I wouldn't want a cohort of graduates all from the same course, regardless of what that course was. It's the diversity of thought that's the important thing for me.
Thank you very much.
Kind of along a similar line, I know attitude's important when you meet people, but what sort of thing would you look for on a CV before you meet people?
I'd be looking for a broad range of experience and skills, and again, that's not just drawing on what you've done in terms of your academic study, but it might be part-time work that you've done outside, it might be societies that you've joined, it might be groups that you've participated in, it might be things that you are really passionate about and therefore you're well versed and well read in. So, but getting down on paper that sense of enthusiasm and passion, and I think that's quite a hard thing to fake. So it is finding those things that you really love and kind of somehow translating that into something that's relevant. I think the other thing, from somebody that at one point I used to do a lot of recruitment, is when you're reading application forms, you get and CVs, you get a lot of what this company could do for me and what this job could do for me. But what you're really looking for when you're reading through these is what you can do for us. So it's kind of understanding what the problem is in terms of the gap and the role that they're advertising and where you might be able to fill it. So picking out particular words in the job spec and demonstrating where you can kind of meet that need.
I'd echo that actually. We ask specific questions through our application form, and people do spend sort of the answers to that question. So if the question's why do you want to work at NHS Digital, I've read answers where people say how wonderful they are, and that's great, but that wasn't the question. So there's a lot of times where if there is a question, just answer it, because that question is there for a reason. It will be worded that way for a reason. So.
Make sure to spell check as well. Yeah, that's a big thing. I came across a CV the other day for a graduate as well, who spelt stakeholder as in the piece of meat. So if you're referring people and companies as a piece of meat, then it's probably a no-go. So yeah, always spell check is a big thing as well when what we're looking at.
Hopefully doing things like DigitalLEAP, of course, you can put those on your CV and makes you stand out a bit as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent, yeah.
A number of you mentioned the importance of team working, and how do you measure that in your assessment processes, those of you who do test for it?
Yeah, well, our assessment day is all based around group work, so it is, because we're assessing for software developers and software testers, it is a technical activity that you are given, and you basically do work on that activity throughout the day in teams, and we also encourage lots of paired programming, so people will have one laptop to be working in a pair, and it's about how they manage that, how they ensure that both people within that pair are getting a chance to be on the laptop, are they sharing knowledge with one another, are they collaborating with the other people around the team, around the room. We also have our internal staff around the room who are acting as assessors, but we also encourage them to speak to them throughout the day and ask them questions. So it's about kind of how they do that and whether they do that.
One thing that One thing that we do at Ten10, I don't want to give too much away in case any of you are planning on applying, we have a group activity where you don't actually get to use your site. It's purely about describing, so you view one thing and it's about describing what you can see to other people who can't see what you can see and coming to a group decision based on communication and learn, and we think that's a really good indicator of how people work when they don't have those barriers there in the team. If they can do with them there, it's a great sign.
It's no surprise that tech companies tend to have some of the most innovative ways of assessment, which will always surprise you, absolutely, in terms of what they're looking for. So, we're certainly going to cover that as part of the session as well. Excellent, yeah.
So I'm going to be graduating in 2021. Obviously, tech's a really fast-paced new dynamic environment, and there's going to be so many more innovations by the time that we get to that point. What do you think is going to be the most influential trend that's going to change the digital landscape?
I'd say AI and artificial intelligence, so you can kind of see where that's going just on a day-to-day with things like Alexa and Siri and things like that. But
do you guys all support AI? Obviously, it's not avoidable in the next couple of years. It's going to be everywhere, but I just don't know if everyone will benefit from it.
well, I think everybody will benefit, because I think it is just going to infiltrate just about everything. I don't know if you're aware, but one of the things that Leeds Beckett University did this year was actually held a chatbot called Becky through clearing, and that is based on artificial intelligence. So I think, you know, things like where you used to kind of maybe speaking to somebody through for customer services, a lot of that is going to be automated, and it's based on AI and machine learning and stuff like that. So some of it will be like really transformational, and some of it will be really transactional and just kind of replacing very mundane things. But I can only see that kind of really taking off. I can't see that going any other way.
With the developments of technology as well, obviously there's going to be more threats to security, so information security, cyber security. We're going to be, as I said, that's why we started this year, 2019 graduates, because the demand is just incredible at the minute, and the earnings you can be making like after the 2-year program going into your third year is ridiculous. I think
they can pretty much charge what they want.
Yeah, I've heard people down in London $3 grand a day they're on. So that's yeah, that's a lot more than what I'm on a month, so I think I need to change my career path.
I would say, to put you at ease slightly, the basics are still going to be highly relevant in those sorts of timescales. AI is in the news a lot recently, but the reality is that the current state of the art is very good at specific tasks like playing board games, but general purpose AI is such a long way away. It's not going to provide the real proper disruption for probably a couple of decades.
It's very transactional, isn't it?
Yeah, we're dealing like the current neural networks that are doing assisted learning on specific tasks right now. The basics are still the place to be, and I wouldn't stress it about where the industry is moving and that kind of thing, because we're using programming languages that have been around for 20 years right now, for the most part, and that's going to be true in the next 5 years as well.
Also, if you're graduating in about 2 years, people will want you because you'll have the most recent experience and most recent learning, and I think that's why we all like graduates, because you've got the newest thing. So whatever the newest thing is, you'll probably be one of the experts.
I know you mentioned you recruit from different backgrounds. It'd be interesting to know all your different backgrounds, and if you work from a digital background, if there was pivotal turning point in your life, and was there any resources that helped you along or push you along, or was a mentor or a YouTube channel or anything like that to help you jump over the lines? That's the once you get into it, then you find it's just the starting point to get into it. It's the hardest part.
So my degree was in business and enterprise management, so I graduated in 2016 from Sheffield Hallam. I'm still not very techy, I'll be honest with you, but I'm going towards that way. So even though I'm a graduate recruiter, at some point I do want to learn those technical skills. So I've downloaded an app called Enki, E-N-K-I, it's a free app, and it helps with kind of coding. So it's from all levels, and it's got various different languages on there as well. And basically, it's like a game in a way, and it kind of looks at it measures how well you're doing each day, and if there's things you need to improve on, then it'll tell you where you need to improve as well, and it keeps measuring it. So I've been doing that for the last couple of months or so. I find it interesting. I've kind of, since starting at FDM, I've learned a lot more about the technical side of things. I've been on a few training courses that we run as well internally, and even like software testing. Any of you guys come to our rewards thing, we're going to be running a kind of software testing game as well, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of fun things you can do to kind of develop your learning. I would recommend looking at Enki. It's a good one. It's helped me as well with development understanding. Thank you.
So me again, I'm not from a technical background either, working in pastoral care. I'm from a business management degree, and I graduated last year. So this is my kind of first graduate role with Ten10 as well. One thing that we're really big on at Ten10 is using Udemy. You guys might have heard of it. It's kind of like YouTube tutorials. A lot of them are free, and there's always kind of free codes knocking around if you want to learn some of the more complex and newer coding languages, or the beginning of coding and how you can kind of get into it from a zero knowledge kind of place. That's something that we encourage people after the training to use, but there's nothing to stop you taking a look into that now. But it's kind of our training course that's run by our consultants that sets everyone up at Ten10.
So I'm a computer science sort of graduate, but decided not to. I actually graduated thinking I was going to be a database administrator, but quickly realised that if I hadn't got a job doing that, I'd have been miserable as sin. So it's about finding the bits of tech that you're really passionate about. So I'm not going to kind of recommend any coding or anything like that, but what I would say is network and find some people with kind of insider knowledge and find out kind of their experiences and their interests and the areas that they're working in, and really learn about the industry, but have that person that kind of can support you and mentor you that's currently working in tech would be kind of essential.
So technically speaking, I have a digital background, but it was digital electronics up to a national diploma, so I'm actually a robotics and cybertronics dropout. I did a year and then I decided I wanted to go and do computers, which I did mostly from a self-taught perspective, and mostly that was driven just through curiosity and just wanting to make things. When I was a kid I always said I wanted to be an inventor, and one of the things I really liked about computers was I could invent things but with no raw materials, so I could type things into a window and it did something new that no one had ever done before. In terms of like resources and that kind of thing, I'm a big fan of Khan Academy and all the free sorts of things. In particular, one of the people who, I don't know if he's still at Khan Academy or not, but there's a guy called Ben Eater, has a YouTube channel and has a couple of playlists on there of how things work, basically, when it comes to computing. There's one on networking, and there's one where he builds a very simple computer on what's called breadboard, where you push electronic components into holes and they work connected together. Ends up quite big in the end, but he starts right from basic principles of basic timers and logic circuits and builds the whole thing piece by piece. And that was really helpful to me in truly understanding what it was that programmable computers are doing. And as I kind of mentioned in my talk, I think having a fundamental understanding of how things work is incredibly beneficial to working with those things.
Yeah, so I actually studied event management, so not a technical degree at all. And then after university, I actually worked at FDM for about just over 5 years. Again, it wasn't directly kind of a technical role. I worked in recruitment and sales as well, but that did give me a really good insight into the different roles, and you had to gain an understanding of what each of the different roles did. I had to go out to clients and speak to them about their requirements and really understand what their requirements were and what the industry trends were. And then since working at Sky, I've kind of dabbled a little bit in coding, so using things like Code Academy to develop my knowledge around that. But it's not kind of, I don't need that necessarily to do my role. It is more about the kind of coordination and development of our grads and apprentices, but obviously having a little bit of that technical understanding is quite useful as well.
So I'm not from a technical background, my degree was in philosophy, so about as far as from technology as I can get. But what I really liked was knowing, when I came into NHS Digital, I didn't really know what it was, but I wanted to work for the NHS. That was a big deal for me. And it was nice to know that you can manage projects without being technical, because the technical people are there. So you have people who are good at different things, and there's a lot of technical people there. I think what continues to amaze me, and some of the work our graduates do as well, is how big tech is and sort of how wide-reaching, and I think that continues to impress me with the work that they're doing as well.
Thank you very much, guys. We've just about run out of time now for all the questions, so thank you very much for those. We've come up to about 7 o'clock now, so I just want to say thank you very much again. If we can have a round of applause for our hopefully really inspiring stuff for you guys. So where we go now, of course, stick around if you want to have a drink for another 5 or 10 minutes with the guys. We'll be here again, of course, next week at 5 o'clock, 5 till 7 o'clock for the first session, which is going to be about working in the world of digital and tech, which is Jen from Sky will be delivering that. So please come again, make sure you book on to my hub on the event.